Welcome into another edition of New Track Record. Caleb Hatch, Justin Kinney with you. And finally, we have IndyCars on track. It's spring training, even though it's the middle of winter here in the Midwest, but in Palm Springs and in particular at the Thermal Club in Thermal, California, the sun is shining and everything looks perfect with palm trees around it at this high class, fancy
elite
racing
level
resort
country club, basically, is what it is.
But yes, IndyCar on track. We're going to recap day one of testing as we record this on Thursday, February 2nd. They just wrapped up testing. And look, there's not a whole lot to take away from testing times. Today, there were no serious incidents, some cars going off track, spinning out, but nothing major. So there's nothing really big to recap there, but really just goes into this week from content days to day one of testing. Day two of testing will be on Friday. It's a good start, but overall, we are right now 1 month to race weekend in St. Pete starting. We have cars on track, and in no surprise, Colton Herta topping both sessions. Yes.
Which obviously means he's going to win every race this year and win the championship and the 500. Basically, this is just, it's big for the teams, totally, and the drivers and the crew, all that stuff. But for fans, I guess it's just exciting to have cars on track. It just means that we're getting close to the start of the season, really. Other than being able to see cars on track, not live, because we can't watch it. Unless you're out there, but just knowing that they're starting to turn the wheels in anger or somewhat anger and test and all that stuff just gets us ready for the season. But other than that, we were talking about it earlier today, content days, all this stuff. I know it. Some people eat it up, and that's great. I don't. I just really feel like I don't really need to know anything and everything about a driver. Other people do. That's perfectly fine. I don't.
And a lot of the information, people like us who follow even in the off season probably already know it.
Yeah.
But it's stuff that they're collecting. Obviously, they're collecting all the GIFs, for example.
Yes.
If you're an annoying person, the GIFs. And they're getting the stories, they can tell on the broadcasts and get ready, the different storylines they can say for the Indy 500, things like that. They do it every year. It used to be called media days. They just changed it to content days because that's how the media works now, I guess. That's, I guess, the more proper term.
It's similar to media days for football. So everybody had a good summer. So everybody had a good winter.
Yeah.
The engineering crew is better than it was last year. We've made some new hires. Well, like everybody, the optimism is blossoming all over the series.
Pato Ward
right?
went to Mexico for 6 weeks over the winter after the season. Didn't have any testing obligations and enjoyed some time in I think the Yucatan Peninsula. Romain Grosjean got his pilot's license.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. Flying
Andretti feels confident that their team's going to, take a step forward. Graham Rahal's back with Eddie Jones, who he won 5 of his 6 career races with. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's your recap of content
That's
days.
basically content days in a nutshell for you. So everybody feels like they're going to be better than they were last year. We know, of course, that's not going to be reality. That's not possible. And so for me, it's just nice that we're starting the discussion. But basically these content days, like you mentioned, getting content for social media stuff. And then basically all your season preview stuff. You're getting all your interviews if you're a media person to then over the next 4 weeks or whatever, pump these stories out where everybody is feeling good about 2023. But come back a month from now, 2 months from now, and half of these guys will be miserable.
Also, livery reveals for a lot of cars. Juncos beat everyone to it. They revealed last weekend. New look for both cars. They look very similar, so that's going to be fun trying to tell those apart.
Yeah, it's always fun.
But we got to see liveries of these cars on track of ones that we didn't know. The Newgarden shell car looks pretty cool. Kind of almost like a throwback to the Zanardi and Vassar Target cars, if you will.
Yep.
That one looks cool. Devlin DeFrancesco's car, once again, looks really fun. Several others, but and Marcus Armstrong, the rookie with the green Ridgeline car. Remember when green used to be like bad luck in racing?
Yeah, right. They got rid of that pretty fast.
So that car looks pretty cool as well. But a lot of livery reveals. Your Fast Five, for what it's worth, in session 2, which I would be shocked. I haven't seen a combined look at these session results, but I would be shocked if anyone was slower in session 2 than they were compared to session number 1.
Because it was a little crisp this morning. New track, like you said.
They had a bit of a hold this morning to get the temps up. But Colton Herta, 139, 3.721. Then Christian Lundgaard, also 139.3 and change. Alex Below, 139.39. Roman Grosjean, 139.48. Will Power, a 139.5. Those are your Fast Five on the day. And again, these times are meaningless. They're not racing there. It's a test. They'll have 2 days of it. The times will probably drop on Friday, since we're just recording for Thursday.
But what can you take out of it? It's more just shaking off the rust, shaking down the car, new drivers and new seats, new drivers working with new personnel. That's basically what this is.
Yes. And now the bigger picture is the Thermal Club. What does it mean? It's very exclusive. Nathan Brown of the Indy Star had an excellent article dovetailing into everything that goes just to get inside the property. It's quite a bit. You have to have a lot of money just to be a member here.
The most amazing thing to me was after you pay the initial whatever, what is it, like within 3 years or something, you have to build a house?
Within 5 years.
5 years, you have to build a house on the property. And most of them are all the same, so it's not like you can really design it your own, it sounds like. It's just probably picking from a couple designs. But you have to pay for a $1 million house or multi-million-dollar house built within 5 years on the property?
Yes. 30,000 square foot home, a $2,400 monthly membership fee, $175,000 initiation fee.
What's the initiation fee?
Cost of purchasing a lot and building the home within 5 years of joining. That's roughly $5 million, plus a 3-person design committee that includes the guy who started all this, the Thermal Club, Tim Rogers. He has to give approval. He's on that committee, and he can also has a veto over any property on the exterior design. You have an interview process, and then if someone were to kind of get into some trouble with some people in the club, he can kick them out. So it is
and probably keep their money.
Yes, as all exclusive. They have all the amenities, plenty of car storage. They have mechanics on site, all that stuff. It's a country club for high-end cars and motorsports enthusiasts who have the money. This guy made his money in the oil industry because, of course.
Because, of course.
That's just how that works. He was selling gas to 7-Eleven and made not millions, but billions of dollars.
With a B.
Yes, with a B. I think the interesting part of all of this is, what does this mean going forward for IndyCar? Now, you can say what you want about IndyCar restricting their product to this exclusive club where fans can't even attend the test. Like, you have to be a member or be an invited guest, and people can invite up to 20 people as far as their guests to attend the test.
That doesn't really bother me. Does it?
Yeah,
does it bother you?
It doesn't bother me. I get that people are upset about it, but quite honestly, how many of you, unless you already live within driving distance of where the test is held, are going to fly out to attend the test?
Right. It's more the outrage that you couldn't if you wanted to.
Yes, because of the exclusivity. But I get it. I understand that. The other thing with this is, do you really want to make IndyCar, so inaccessible that you're only catering to the elite of the elite, which is what this is. Let's be honest. However, I am sure IndyCar is getting paid by the Thermal Club for this. I know that when it's a track rental, normally, the series would pay for that, but I feel like this is the other way around. I'm sure IndyCar is collecting a fee. At least I would hope they're collecting a fee for these test days. Because it's giving the track a lot of publicity. Not
as much as Tim Rogers thought, because he was under the impression that this would be streamed, and he paid for miles and miles of cable and all that. We'll get to that story in a little bit, but he's not exactly as thrilled with the test as he otherwise would have been, because he thought this would be streamed. but IndyCar likes to pull the rug out of under people at the last moment. This is just another instance of that. But IndyCar's at least getting paid. To me, it doesn't really matter where the test is. I wouldn't go to a test anyway. I guess people, if they wanted to, could go, but this relegates it or limits it. But if you're building some relationships with people with a lot of money, then even just getting one of those people on board for some sort of sponsorship or whatever is worth it, right?
Yes, it's a networking opportunity. And so you're networking with people who are already interested in it, at minimum cars and most likely motorsports as well,
right?
And getting your product in front of them up close and personal with access that you would have to pay thousands of dollars for at another race weekend or be a special invited guest, where this is quite literally in your own backyard or front yard, however you want to put it. So this is unique access and a way to network with these people. And that's what this is about. Ultimately, yes, I get it. Fans, the spring training in this instance, quite honestly, is not for you. But it is a networking opportunity.
It's for somebody.
For the teams, for the drivers, for the series. And hopefully some relationships come out of this that lead to business opportunities. And if even that leads to one sponsorship deal or partnership for the series or for a team, for a driver, to me, it's worth it.
Yes. You just wish this was streamed.
Yes.
I don't even know how much I would watch, but I know there's a lot of people out there that would watch, right? And the inability to do that, and Tim Rogers even saying it, that he expected this thing too to be streamed, is kind of disappointing.
Yes, and that's the part. He was expecting more promotion and publicity for his track's help in lending a testing home for IndyCar. That's the words from Nathan Brown. In the initial plan, there was a full test stream of all the on-track action that would be on Peacock or IndyCar's YouTube channel. Obviously, there's a lot of costs with that. They ordered all the cabling for the Thermal Club with the cameras and equipment. Then last minute, they decided not to do that. Obviously, I'm sure Rogers was not happy, but the couple $100,000 cost of outfitting a robust camera setup with towers, fiber cords, and the use of NBC's full TV compound broadcast team, the trying to spend more on marketing, which we'll get to that a bit later on. That's said to be the downfall, according to Brown in his article at IndyStar.com. But to be clear, I will say this. Yes, we're not getting a stream, but they are putting out lots of videos on social media. There's plenty of content. You've seen different in-car camera views of guys doing laps around the track. So I don't feel like we're missing a whole lot, because let's be honest, you'd have this on, watch it for maybe 5-10 minutes, and then you'd go about your day and maybe have it on in the background at work
while you're
or whatever.
working.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally understand that, but maybe there are some people that would be locked in and watching it, but it's more just having it, in the background. But if this opportunity leads into sponsorship or additional team or something, or even what has kind of been teased in Nathan Brown's article, some sort of pro-am type event in the future, I think that would be good for IndyCar. I was intrigued with that idea and it sounded like it was more coming from the IndyCar side than the Tim Rogers side based on what that format would be. But it was very interesting. I think it's a concept that could work. And if you have big money involved, that's the key.
Yes. And there is big money involved, in a $250,000 buy-in for members.
And it's a multi-million-dollar purse for the driver that wins. So basically what it would be, a Thermal Club member drops $250,000 and those people have a race, correct? And then that determines the starting grid for the IndyCar race.
I think so.
Is that how I understand it?
Yeah, they're partnered with a driver.
Yes. So the members race, and that determines the starting grid for the drivers, and then you're racing for a couple $1 million, it sounded like.
This seems like either an off-season exhibition.
Yeah.
Definitely
be an exhibition.
Yeah. Does IndyCar Racer eventually? Maybe, but
I see it being a long way off.
That I do too, because they already had to spend several $100,000 to upgrade the wall for, I think, pit lane. The article mentioned It makes me nervous seeing no real safer barriers anywhere.
Yeah, there's
on this
a
track.
lot
And
of
this is a high-speed track.
There is a lot of Armco barriers around there.
So they'll need upgrades. Obviously, the other thing, they're going to have to find places to put in grandstands and infrastructure. And I mean, it's a lot. To do a test day, that's one thing, but to have all the transporters and for the teams and the series and equipment with the TV compound and everything, plus throw in a fan zone, plus throw in multiple grandstands, viewing areas for general admission tickets, all of that. I mean, that's a whole other level. And, maybe if this goes well and they sell a bunch of lots because of this, maybe they're closer to that goal and maybe they've been in discussions with IndyCar, or this could be a potential season opener down the lane. Maybe, I don't know, but this feels a long ways off to me.
It does. And even Tim Rogers kind of evidenced that and talked about this being a long way off, at least for a full-fledged event, but that Pro-Am event maybe could be something in the near future. It's all about the response from its members. They were all able to bring people into this test in the last couple of days, and you basically schmooze the people that you want to schmooze that have money. And I know some people out there are going to be, well, what about us, quote unquote, normal IndyCar fans? I'm totally fine with certain instances in which you're kissing the asses of people that have a lot of money that could invest in your sport. I'm perfectly fine with that. You just don't want it to become every event like Formula One, right?
You don't want to go down the path of being F1, making it inaccessible. This is a rare exception, right? I mean,
sure.
IndyCar and the open test is usually open to fans, and they usually have plenty of access and perhaps even an autograph session. Look, every IndyCar race weekend, you can buy a paddock pass, and it's not going to break the bank.
Right.
They have free autograph sessions with the full field every IndyCar race weekend.
Yeah, you can walk amongst the cars at a lot of events, right?
You can meet your favorite driver with a pit pass or paddock pass. It's very possible, and get a photo with them. And get their autograph. So there is access that you're not going to get in NASCAR, and you're definitely not going to get in Formula One unless you're a VIP type. So this is a rare exception to that. As long as it doesn't become the rule, I think I'm okay with what they're doing here. They're trying something new, and to be honest, it's something IndyCar hasn't done a whole lot.
That's what people have been asking for. We've been asking for it. Yes. So it's something different, and just because it doesn't market to a particular person or particular base of fans doesn't mean it's not trying to grow the sport.
Other things that came out of this test today, it was the first trial run for Shell as the fuel supplier for the series. That deal starting this year, and 100% renewable fuel made from Generation 2 bio-waste. So this was the first test for that. Didn't hear about any issues, obviously. No. So that's a very positive thing. Also, they tried an updated headrest to try to improve that in the cockpit for drivers. It was a head surround. This is a prototype, so we'll see how that goes. Details for both of those on racer.com. Some other notes. Mark Martin was there. They have a home in the area. Mark was a guest of Jay Fry, so I found that interesting. Obviously, Jay has ties to NASCAR, worked with NASCAR teams in the past, but that's always good. Some other things that came out of the test, obviously tons of livery reveals, as we mentioned. We also learned about a feud between Simon Pagenaud and Joseph Newgarden.
It sounded like
over
a friendly feud that was maybe blown out of proportion, I guess. Look, these drivers are asked the same questions time and time again by different people. I'm sure that Simon Pagenaud was having a little fun about it, but
yeah, he mentioned it though in race of the Rolex 24. So I think there's something to it.
There's something to it, but I feel like it's not as big as what people are making it out to be.
Well, we're always grasping at any kind of hashtag Indy Rivals content.
Anything we possibly can develop that is similar. Like it very much is true. Like somebody has a slight or even a perceived slight against another driver, and it's immediately latched onto by social media as trying to make it bigger than it is. And that's why part of me thinks that this week at Thermal Club is kind of trying to fuel it even more. Right, like, let's just have fun with the stupid media trying to blow something out of proportion.
Another thing that came out, IndyCar has their first self-contained mobile medical unit. That's pretty cool that it will be traveling with the series. So again, always working on safety. Always good to see that part of the conversation.
Always a good thing. Yes.
Definitely never a bad thing to work on safety.
You just hope that's not one of the transporters that breaks down or is on fire on the side of the highway. Right?
Which seems to happen like every season, does it not?
Every other season when you have something go on with a transporter. So let's just hope it's not the medical transporter for IndyCar.
Yeah. Let's definitely hope that is not the case. Man, why'd you have to bring that up?
I jinxed it now.
Yeah, for sure. So that's a look at some of the other storylines. Plus, from the content days, we got several other items. Will Power gave an update on his wife, Liz. She's doing much better than a couple weeks ago, so that's the good news there. Hopefully, she's back to full health right around the season opener. They'll know more in the next 4 to 5 weeks on her recovery. So, not sure what happened, but
yeah.
Obviously, a pretty serious situation for him to drop out of the Rolex 24.
She'll be back destroying water bottles in no time.
Hopefully so. She's from, I think, Fishers, by the way.
Really?
I learned that a family friend, he went to high school with her.
And did she destroy water bottles in high school?
I should have asked him in the moment. He told me, he's like, yeah, Liz Power. Yeah, I went to high school with her. I was like, no way. That's crazy. So
nice.
From Fishers. So there you go. Some inside information. I don't think I've shared that before on the podcast. So some of the other notes that came out of content days and media days and everything, those are some of those little things. But overall, we had testing. It was clean. And we have some things to look forward to. I think, unfortunately, we talked about the good, the bad, the no streaming aspect is, well, it is what it is, right? I think it's more on IndyCar from what it sounds like of cutting this last minute.
Yeah.
And clearly the cost is a lot, but for accessibility, it is concerning.
Once again, the rug being pulled out from under teams at the last moment. We saw this really with the purse and the scholarship stuff.
Another thing we'll get to.
And with Tim Rogers talking about, basically it sounded like at the 11th hour it was pulled for the stream. And now we're hearing about the leader circle and teams. It doesn't sound like a lot of money when you're $5-6 million per car for a full season. What is it, like $180,000, something like that? But it is a lot of money. It is definitely a lot of money. And teams that are scratching and clawing to try to put a full-time entry together for a season, it's a lot of money. Yeah,
so IndyCar, this from Racer.com's Marshall Pruitt. So leader circle contracts were worth $1.06 million in 2022, but for 2023, they're worth $910,000 in guaranteed prize money, a 14% year-to-year loss.
That's a lot of percentage.
Pruitt reports that why they trim this is simple: reallocating the funds to the series marketing and promotions budget. So that's $3.3 million from teams taken away, and a budget loss, for example, of $600,000 for Andretti Autosport, $450,000 for any of the 3-car teams, $300,000 for 2-car teams. So that's quite a bit of money. Not that that's like make or break being on the grid money, but that goes a long way in hiring key people and personnel. In transportation costs. I mean, think about it. Fuel costs.
Especially in timing. Like this sounds like, per Marshall's article, that teams are finding out about this after their budgets have been set for the season. Which, come on, that can't happen. And it comes back to when we were told, what was it, a month ago, that IndyCar was going to invest further in their marketing department and marketing budget. Investing isn't the same as reallocating, and that's what's happening. IndyCar is reallocating money from other places to boost its marketing budget, and you can debate whether that's it's semantics or not, but basically you're robbing Peter to pay Paul at this point. You're not investing any more money in the series than you otherwise would. You're just moving money around into a different line item, basically.
Yeah, you're moving from one line item to another line item. There's no new money in the budget.
No, there's no new money here. It's just the existing money that's being moved around. And you can make a point that this is good reallocation, because if you invest more in the marketing of the series, you can get more people watching, more eyeballs on product, more people interested, and eventually it trickles down to the teams. So I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad idea, but it was a misconstrued message when you said that you're investing more in marketing budget. You're not investing more, you're reallocating more into the marketing budget. And you're once again at the 11th hour changing something that's important to the teams. And you did it with Indy Lights, and you did it with Tim Rogers, expecting this thing was going to be streamed at the Thermal Club, and now it's not. You can't do this repeatedly to your investors in a lot of ways into your series, right? Yeah,
especially as the health of teams has improved quite a bit over even just the last 6-7 years. I mean, you go back to 2016 to now, the health of the teams. You have more teams in the sport. Yes, you still have the super teams, but you essentially have a new super team that you didn't have then with Arrow McLaren.
Right. Well, even they haven't won anything yet.
True. I mean, they're winning races, but they haven't won a championship. They haven't won an Indy 500.
Yeah. Yes.
But I would say they're a super team, at least when it comes to funding, driver lineup, personnel, all those things. They just need the award, the achievement to add to the resume.
There is, and this is slightly off topic, no team that has more pressure on them, in my opinion, entering 2023 than McLaren.
I would agree. But you have healthier teams. You have a great TV deal that you could never even dream of as an IndyCar fan.
Even 5 years ago.
Even
3 years ago.
Even during before the split, I don't think you could dream of a TV deal like this, where you still had races on ESPN and ESPN2. I mean, you're getting 2 races on USA.
3.
Oh, yeah, that's right. 3. So they moved up 1. 3 on USA, 1 on Peacock, and the rest on NBC.
Yeah.
Over the air.
You have 13 races on network of your 17.
No.
It's amazing.
You're not going to get a better deal than that. So it's wild to think that this is like where we're at, that we're taking money away from teams where everything else, like, you have so many positive things. And I get it. Every offseason, there's a negative story or two. We had the iRacing mess. We have the no streaming of spring training. You have the leader circle payout dropping. But these are pretty minor.
Dropping.
Yeah, the scholarship dropping with Indy Lights and preventing Linus Lundqvist from getting a ride, at least for now. But these are pretty minor stories compared to what we used to experience every offseason.
Yeah, I mean, they're major issues, but your mindset kind of changes. The priorities change. So when you're taking care of the bigger things, then the other minor stuff or the other things seemingly are bigger, more important. But we don't want to harp on all the negatives all the time, because there are some positives. There's some definite positives and things we take for granted now in such a short time that are tremendous positives, including the TV deal.
Yeah, the TV deal continues to be a huge positive. If you can just get slightly more eyeballs to watch, it's even better.
More. Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of it just weighs on the Indy 500. If you get a good rating,
it pulls everything up that average, right?
It does. And that plays a huge role and a huge impact in that. So overall, yes, the leader circle dropping and this story leaking out the day of spring training starting, not a coincidence.
It kind of hijacks the narrative when it comes out at 8 a.m. on the first day of testing, right?
Yeah,
8 a.m. Eastern.
Absolutely.
Which is how it was timestamped. It was scheduled to hit this morning and got our attention.
Oh, absolutely. So that's a look at some of the stuff from spring training and thermal. Hey, speaking of Peacock, 20 million subscribers.
They
reported. So that's getting somewhere. I know it's not Netflix level, but it is getting somewhere. And slowly but surely, they're adding subscribers. It'll help having another Olympics coming up next year. I'm sure that will help a lot in adding more subscribers. If you agree, disagree, or want to interact more with us, we'd love for you to join us. NewTrackRecordPodcast.com is the website. While you're there, you can sign up for the email list. It is free. You'll never miss an episode that way, or any special announcements. Plus, we have the store, t-shirts, stickers for sale. Thanks to, I believe it was Dawn buying a t-shirt in the past week. So thanks for that. Also, you can find us on social media. IndyCar Podcast is the handle on Twitter and Instagram. On Facebook, just search for New Track Record. You can find us on there. You can email us, newtrackrecordpodcast@gmail.com is the email address. And you can also be a supporter on Patreon, patreon.com/newtrackrecord. We have multiple supporter tiers for you. Thanks to Xavier, Rob, and others for their support. Costs as little as $1 a month to be a supporter on Patreon. And as always, you can listen for free on your favorite podcasting platform, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, CastBox, Player FM, wherever you find your podcasts. Again, all for free.
What better time to jump on board than
right before the
season starts?
That's right. And if you took a break during the off season and now you're back, welcome back. We cover the off season, so
yes,
go catch up on everything you missed over the last couple of months.
Definitely.
All right, mailbag time, and we actually have a lot to get to this week.
Yeah, a lot of little tidbits.
So quite a bit. First off, from Heil Mike. Wow, never thought I'd see almost every race on regular TV. I'm still keeping Peacock, though. Love watching quals and practices. Yeah. Look, I was able to cancel my Peacock and then re-up it for a 99-cent per month deal.
How about that?
So there are deals out there. I don't know if they have that right now, but there are plenty of options for you. And yes, this TV deal continues to be amazing.
It shouldn't be an excuse anymore complaining about that. You don't need it other than for one race if all you do is watch races.
True.
Right?
True.
All you need it is for one race. And maybe you decide I'm just not going to watch Toronto. And then you don't have to get Peacock.
Yeah.
So, but otherwise, as you're seeing, Thursday Night Football is now on Amazon Prime. If you want to watch Thursday Night Football, NFL, you have to have a streaming service. And it sounds like that's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of where this is going. So
yeah, NASCAR's exploring Amazon for their next TV deal.
Prime, at least for maybe 4 to 6 races. It sounds like whatever wouldn't be on, or what would be on the old TNT package, right? Was so whatever Fox and NBC don't have. But that's the way it's going. And if you're into practice and qualifying, that's a small price to pay, right?
Yeah, it's $5 a month.
It's one drink at Starbucks. Come on, people.
Yes.
That's kind of what the thing, a small tangent here about eggs. Everybody wants to complain about how expensive eggs are. Like, yeah, usually eggs are $1.50, whatever. Now they're $4.50, $5. It's just a drink at Starbucks. Like, it's not that big of a deal, people. Always, have you seen the price of eggs? It's not that big of a deal, people. Yes, it sucks, but it's only a couple of dollars more.
People love to complain.
Oh, they love to complain.
This from Hunter's Way 67. Yes, make it happen, Jay Fry. That's in response to Wickens in the Indy 500. So diving more, and he actually, Hunter's Way 67, Steve sent us a picture outside the gates at Thermal Club.
Did he go?
I mean, he's outside the gates. I don't know if he's truly inside.
But he went to the gates,
to check it out.
Tried to talk his way in, probably didn't work.
This from last week. So
Let's
I don't know
see
if
your
he's
Rolex, sir.
Yeah.
No, get out of here.
Yes, for sure. The other thing is, so I didn't catch this last week, but that picture that Wickens tweeted out was in Rossi's car from.
Oh, really?
Whether it was last year or the year before. And then Steve Wittick, Trackside Online, with some more context on everything happening with that. And they basically tried the extraction process and he passed with flying colors.
Nice.
Basically, Wickens attempted the extraction process from the IndyCar quicker than the goal. And yes, that was Rossi's car that he got into to try to fit in and everything. So there's progress on that. Brian Hurta's goal is the 2024 Indy 500. IndyCar open to the idea. Obviously, they have to work on it as far as hand controls and the technology. Obviously, the sponsorship side, I would hope you could sell that if you get the technical side figured out. but Brian Herta very interested in running him for the Indy 500 in 2024.
Well, in the extraction thing, IndyCar wants to be sure that every driver is capable of getting himself out of the cockpit in a quick manner in the event that something happens, in the event of a fire or whatever. So that seemingly seems to be what this was about, was can Robert Wickens extract himself from the car in the event he needs to before safety personnel arrive if something would happen.
Plenty of notes to take away from the Rolex 24. Run_Mark_Run. So many commercials during the Rolex 24. Nothing about IndyCar. Yeah, there were a lot of ads if you watch any of it, but it is what it is.
Well, somebody made a point that during the Rolex 24, if you watched on Peacock, there was actual ads. It wasn't just your event will return or whatever. They actually ran the ads, and there was no side by side. It's one of those tired things that look, I don't like ads either, but commercials means that somebody's pays the bills, right? So if I have to hear, well, Formula One has one more time, because Formula One is different. It's like comparing, in all honesty, high school football with the NFL. Well, F1 does this. And when that deal was made, I can guarantee you Mother's Polish is not paying the amount of money that it would have to pay if that deal was, say, this year with Formula One being on ESPN. They paid before this latest popularity boom in the United States.
They're on a new deal.
Are they on a new deal?
Yeah.
Mother's Polish, I can guarantee you they're paying a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, they're paying, I'm sure, a lot more money.
Especially when you look at Sky Sports and they don't have commercials. So it's not built in anyway. But anyway, I digress. Commercials, yeah, sometimes it feels like there's too many, blah, 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 but they do pay the bills. And I guess if there was if Peacock offered some sort of premium package that you didn't have commercials, then maybe people would front the money for that.
The alternative is like what they have in the UK, where you have to pay to have like a TV box. It's like a fee.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not talking cable. I'm just saying you have to pay, period.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. It's always kind of the tired diatribe of too many commercials, or why are there commercials, period, or whatever. They pay the bills.
Plain and simple. They pay the bills.
If somebody tomorrow came to IndyCar and say, hey, we'll pay for all your races to be commercial free, I can guarantee you IndyCar would do that. But there's nobody out there who's doing that.
A lot of thoughts from people on the Leader Circle story. NK Harden, yeah, but if Paul can promote the series and bring in at least $6.6 million, then Paul just paid himself and Peter. If you want increased marketing, then it's going to have a cost. Roger paying for everything out of his pocket isn't a business solution. It's a charity. And it's not realistic. Yes, we did know that going in, that Roger wasn't going to make this a charity. It would be a business. However, I think we also expected a lot more progress on the business side for the series. Yes, I feel like the Speedway is well taken care of and he's done tons of upgrades and everything. Right. But on the series side, it still feels like we're stuck with where we were before.
And I think just the timing is what the most salty to me is. If you want to pull from the Leader Circle and announce that in December, okay. But when it's coming out in February, the week of your test, in which all the teams have their budgets in place or very close to having them in place for the season, and then you're telling them that, hey, the Leader Circle's dropping 18%, by the way, this year, then that's a problem. And you can't keep going out back to the phrase of pulling the rug out from under your teams. You did it with Indy Lights, and now you're doing it with IndyCar in terms of money, because money is everything, particularly to a lot of these teams that rely on that money. And I've said in the past that I would love a situation where the Leader Circle went away, because I don't think the best business model is subsidizing teams that are participating in your series. But at the same time, you can't make this move so close to the season without it negatively impacting the teams.
That's true. Indy Oreo, John Oriovitz, tweeted a picture of the Hindenburg talking about this. Also said there's a new rear crash attenuator this year, talking about today being the day as far as testing.
You had the witty tweet about IndyCar just put out today's the day.
That's all they said. Yeah. So I said third OEM international races. Checks notes. Oh,
it's just a test that nobody can watch.
Yeah, just a test. NK Harden is talking about, you posted this talking about, if IndyCar says it's testing, but no one outside of a swanky elite level country club can see it happening live, is it even happening? He says, I just picture everyone sitting around a pool, sipping cocktails and smoking expensive cigars while they play with Matchbox IndyCars. All this while they laugh at how we all have no idea what's really going on. Then JR Riggs 79 on Twitter says, just a generic question, but is there any other sport in the world that doesn't televise preseason games? So frustrating to us fans who pour our heart and soul into this sport. Yeah, I mean, think about it. I would say there are probably NBA. Well, no, I was going to say there are NBA preseason games that aren't streamed or on TV, but that's not true. I'm sure
you
think
can get
of
NBA TV or whatever and watch it. NHL Center Ice, I'm sure you can watch preseason. I'm sure in the vein that where IndyCar is in terms of a series, there's other series around.
Does F1 do F1 TV for their big test day?
I would have to imagine they're doing that.
I would think.
Yeah, should IndyCar do it? Yes. Am I heartbroken that they're not? No. Are other people more fired up about it than I am? Yes. I just am not. It would be nice to have it on, I guess, at work. It's kind of like practice once you get into the season and stuff, like Friday practice. Like, I'll have it on, but I'm not really paying attention.
It's not make or break for me.
No.
I'm glad to have access. I'm willing to pay access. Here's the thing. I don't know why I'm just now thinking about this. If they're so worried about the cost of this, why didn't they offer like a package where people could buy it?
What a concept.
Like, honestly, like charge, I don't know what you're charging, $10. I'm sure you're easily getting several thousand people willing to pay $10 to stream 2 days of testing.
Yeah, but would it be worth still the investment? Because from what Marcia Pruitt said, you have to have all the crew go out there, lay the wire, all that stuff. Like, it's a pricey.
Oh yeah, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, not several thousand.
Probably not recouping that money, even if you had a small fee to pay for it and get it. But not ideal. But once again, it just seems like, okay, the series has had to cut in certain aspects of things because they need to up the marketing budget, of which I have yet to see an impact, by the way.
Well, yeah,
maybe
not
it's
yet.
coming, but maybe I'll have to do a weekly update. Am I seeing the dividends being paid with this quote unquote reallocation of money into marketing? Not yet.
Hunter's Way 67 off-season good news just keeps rolling in, talking about the leader circle. Also, this from Jamin T14. Mind-blowing how the guy we thought was saving IndyCar may just doom it, withholding judgment until the long-term plans are revealed. I don't think there's a long-term plan because I think the long-term plan is just extract the money out of it and go from there. Like, there's no real growth plan because until the series is profitable, there will not be growth.
Yes. I don't think that Roger Penske is necessarily dooming this sport, but he's not exactly doing what we thought he would do with the sport. I think Roger Penske has a group of people around him that are as antiquated as he is in making decisions and feel like they have all the answers, and they don't. Clearly don't.
A lot of comments. So there's Mike Straw Media revealed an exclusive screenshot of the upcoming IndyCar game. There are some cars. They look like the cars, just no sponsors on them.
Well, Arrow has
everyone else,
and,
though. There's
Husky Chocolate, I think, had some on it in the background, but
no sponsors though on
everything
some of the
else
other
is
cars.
Just bland, empty side pods.
But some replies. What is Marty Roth doing in the game? There was a car that was just all black. Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Marty Roth. If you don't know, look that up. Hunter J. Smith 03 looks ugly. Other comments. You guys seem particularly grumpy today. Yeah, that's Justin. He can be grumpy sometimes.
You were on it on this morning when we were talking about the leader circle, and you had a big
you were
tangent.
Grumpy on social media.
Yeah. So I'm always grumpy on social media.
That was you being grumpy on the Twitter account. I was just grumpy when we were talking about it, and I'm more of the let's sit back and see what people have to say.
No, I go right to social media.
InCap Teen 185 says, I think it actually looks not that bad. We shall see. Yeah, the graphics look good.
This looks fine.
It'd be nice if the cars, though, had the sponsors.
Actual
I get it.
sponsors
Those are agreements and things you got to work through.
But those are like basic, like when you go for realism, and that's max realism, and usually that's a blanket thing. So if IndyCar makes a deal with Motorsport Games, then that includes all of the sponsors that are involved in the car. So like a blanket thing. And maybe it wasn't a finalized shot. I still have to see video of the thing before I pass judgment, even before it releases, on how good it could be. Like I need some gameplay or whatever. You know what I mean? I guess it's encouraging we've seen a screenshot. The fact that it wasn't released by Motorsport Games, though, makes me a little uncertain on whether I'm still. We've doubted this thing. I don't think one quote unquote leaked screenshot's changing my mind that this thing's not coming in 4 months, but we'll see. You have to go max realism with this thing, and not having all the sponsors on board would be not good, but we'll see.
Some other comments as far as the testing goes. Chris in the 6 says they're testing our patience. Poet Shevchenko. On the social media side, there was a major milestone reached for IndyCar. The first video with a title that was not all caps. There you go. It's the little things, right?
Yeah.
The little things. Also, Poet Shevchenko said, talking about testing, and I said, can't wait to watch it.
Subtle.
Very subtle. InCap Teen 185, Caleb and Justin waking up each day to no new IndyCar news, talking about no third OEM, no international races, everything. Yes, one day this will happen, and what we have to talk about without that.
Yeah, I know. We always find something, though, don't we?
That's true. Blown Apex, this in response to the Leaders Circle payouts getting reduced. I wonder if this means teams will be more curious as to where the marketing budget is going to every year. That's a great point.
I would imagine that the teams will be responsive to the move if they can see some tangible production and increase in marketing. Sensible increase in marketing is, okay, you're going to take this money, which is fine because in the end, it is their money that they're giving to these teams. Okay, if you're going to take that money from giving it to us, please show us that it's being used wisely and ways to grow the sport. And that remains to be seen. We'll see.
Also, some other tweets on the mailbag. In fact, I'm going to save those for tweets of the week. They were that good.
Oh.
So we have several tweets of the week. So that wraps up the mailbag for now. We'll get to some other tweets here later on. All right, time for news and notes and a few things to get to. We covered a lot just based on the test and what we got out of it. Ed Carpenter Racing, BitNile on all the cars. They revealed that BitNile.com liveries for all 3 cars. It's going to be hard to tell some of them apart, to be honest.
Cryptocurrency still providing some cash money for Ed Carpenter Racing.
But the interesting thing as far as partnering with Beth Peretta and Peretta Autosport, highly unlikely that they will do that. They had plans and talks about doing more, reach that date on the calendar where they didn't have everything in place. So their focus is doing that in 2024. Rinus VeeKay also signed a multi-year agreement in 2021, 2023 final year of a multi-year agreement for Connor Daly.
Very nice. In regards to Peretta Autosport, I like Simona Di Silvestro. But does she move the needle enough to bring in sponsors for Peretta Autosport, other than the fact that it's a woman-run team? I'm looking at Jamie Chadwick and her success overseas in Formula E, and if she can come over and have success in Indy Lights, could she be that driver that could then move up to IndyCar with Peretta and galvanize that team and galvanize the excitement around that team that Simona Di Silvestro just, quite frankly, hasn't been able to, because she is who she is. She doesn't have much excitement around her in terms of IndyCar because we've seen what she can do or not do. And could a vibrant, young, bright, successful woman driver really help Peretta Autosport jump into the IndyCar series? with more development and more races and more progress.
I'd fully disagree with you. I'd say that Simona Di Silvestro has already shown what she can do in an IndyCar. She got a podium, I believe, at a race, or at least got a fourth.
I'm not saying she's a bum or anything.
I think she's just not had great situations as far as cars go since coming back, dabbling in IndyCar for a couple of years now. I think she has the talent. Give her a full-time opportunity. I think she'll show that over the course of a full season. Also, I think Jamie Chadwick, if she has success with Andretti will find a way to keep her with that team.
True.
They're not going to let her get away, and why would they?
Unless there's some sort of partnership between Andretti and Peretta to do that. I don't know. But
I think this is more of an indictment of how hard it is, for whatever reason, for women to get sponsorship, which I think is absurd and insane. Simona has all the talent. There's no one doubting her talent, ability. For whatever reason, though, they can't get more than just a couple of races, which, I mean, they were talking about running all the road and street course races in the Indy 500, a year ago.
I feel like, and other reporters have said that this in terms of Peretta Autosport is the series maybe not giving that team the amount of support that they're giving teams that are trying to progress a black driver or any of that in terms of getting to the Indianapolis 500. There just seems to be a disconnect there. And I'm saying Simona Di Silvestro, as good as she is, 34 years old, she's raced 70 plus races in IndyCar, one podium over 70 races. And I guess just the cachet isn't there for prospective sponsors. Maybe a Jamie Chadwick that comes in, particularly if she could be very successful and win some races in Indy Lights, could that be the young, energetic next big thing type thing potentially in women driving? Could that galvanize some interest in Peretta Autosport? I think it's unfair for Simona Di Silvestro to not get the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, perception is everything, particularly when you're trying to convince people to invest in racing, and maybe a Jamie Chadwick could bring that to Peretta Autosport. But to your point, if she performs in Indy Lights, I can't imagine Andretti Autosport's letting her get away.
Couple of Rolex 24 notes. Congrats to Elio and Simon Pagenaud, Meyer Shank Racing, back-to-back Rolex 24 winners. Elio's won 3 in a row because he was with Wayne Taylor Racing before that. He's one of just 2 drivers in Rolex 24 history to take the overall victory back-to-back-to-back. That from Nathan Brown. So also the LMP2 finish between Ben Hanley and James Allen in the Rolex 24, this from Trackside Online, featured the 2 drivers who drove an IndyCar for Dragon Speed in 2019.
Aha!
I totally forgot about James Allen running an IndyCar race.
I forgot so too. If you would have name 100 drivers of the last 10 years. I could not have gotten James Allen.
Yeah, I would not have gotten there. So that's other interest of note. The Garage 56 entry for the 24 Hours of Le Mans, Jimmy Johnson, we figured that. Mike Rockenfeller, accomplished sports car driver. Jenson Button.
How about that?
Really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool lineup of drivers for that. Flow Racing, we mentioned this. They have a documentary, Legends of Racing, the Bittenhausens. That is up, flowracing.com. That's how you get access to that. Plus, the FIA has launched the application process for prospective Formula One teams. I'm sure an IndyCar team will be applying.
Can I find that on LinkedIn?
No.
No? Okay.
I don't think so. I don't think you can apply on LinkedIn.
I didn't know if I could go on there and just apply, and then maybe I'll get a call back.
All right. So one other note. Congrats to Aaron Likens, who got engaged. He is the flagman for the series. So congrats on his engagement. Now time for tweets of the week. Bruce Martin _500 covers the series. Took a picture, cut my life into pizzas, and his caption, "This is my last resort." Always great. Love that joke. All right. Some replies from our listeners. These all reach it because they're all very good. Run _Mark_run. Is iRacing getting their license back, or did that get forwarded to Mattel too? Talking about, you posted a tweet about a racing game.
Yes, the Mattel Auto Racing. That was, just a series of dots, but that may be all we have this year in terms of to fall back on, despite that exclusive screenshot being leaked.
Indy Nathan, but they aren't robbing AJ. Talking about the leader circle. Yeah, because the
Yeah,
Foyt
but he's
cars
still
aren't in
zero.
it. And this from Poet Shevchenko. I'm happy to read that Foyt Racing is getting a $0 reduction in leader circle payments.
Ouch.
Ouch, indeed. I hope that changes for that team. I will say this. They were able to take their partnership with Sexton Properties and up it to be the primary on both cars. Now, I'm sure the drivers brought some cash, but what drivers aren't bringing cash, let's be honest.
True.
Very few in IndyCar. And I hope they can rebound because they have an exciting lineup of drivers this year. Yeah, you have a rookie in Benjamin Peterson, but he won a lights race, won a pole, and then Santino Ferrucci back full time. We'll see what he can do in the series.
And their team numbers were going to be 14 and 88.
Yes.
And I guess that's like a Aryan thing.
88, yeah, something to do with like neo-Nazis, I guess.
Well, 8 is H for Hitler, apparently.
Yeah, HH, I guess. I did not know any of this.
No, me neither. So that's why they changed to 55. So it's 14 and 55 because 14 and 88, and they go together. Like 1488, I guess, is a
something. Yeah, I don't
thing.
know.
I don't know.
The whole thing, I was like, what? And then I read why, and I thought, wow.
Oh, okay, sure.
I'm glad I
they're
don't know these
hijacking
things.
numbers.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't know that until learning it after the fact, to be honest.
Yeah, so I guess it makes sense changing it. But yeah, it's something I didn't know.
But think about this. Gabby Chavez ran the 88 just a couple of years ago. No one would have thought anything of that then.
No, but it just
amazing. Shows how ridiculous things have gotten.
Like it's become like I'm giving it like the okay sign.
Oh yeah,
that supposedly you couldn't do anymore for a while, or I don't know if you can. Yeah, like you can hijack numbers. You're hijacking things you do. I just whatever. But I understand why.
I understand why they did it. It's crazy that's like a thing.
Yes,
I guess is
absolutely.
more of the takeaway for both of us.
The list of crazy it's a thing continues to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, everything has become crazy. It's a thing, it seems.
This podcast, it's crazy that it's a thing.
True. And crazy that it's a thing, our random split error driver of the week. What a segue.
Oh, yeah. We're going with 2003 kart. We're going with Tiago Monteiro.
I've definitely heard of him.
Have you had Tiago Monteiro, who raced actually 37 races in Formula One for Midland and Jordan?
Yeah.
I did not realize he did that many.
I didn't realize he did kart. I recognize him more from Formula One.
But yes, absolutely did kart. Looking at it, 2003 for Fittipaldi Dingman Racing. Raced the entire season in 2003.
I've never heard of that team.
No? The Fittipaldi Dingman Racing. It's so obscure, it doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. I can't even click on it or anything. But did the entire season in 2003. Let's see. His high finish was in Mexico City, a 6th. Finished 15th in points that season. And it is very much a who's who of racing drivers in 2003 in kart. Half of them are either former or future random split era drivers of the week. But when you look at Monteiro and what he raced that year, so Fittipaldi Dingman Racing, he was then in a Reynard. And
which Fittipaldi was the owner?
Let's see. Emerson.
Okay.
Emerson was. So looking at this, his sponsors was very much all over the place as well, from the World Childhood Foundation. That sounds fake. O2 Diesel, allslots.com. I assume that's a casino. It's kind of a little sketchy. But he raced every race that season, or at least attempted to, but the majority of his career was spent in world touring and world touring cars. Had 253 starts there, 37 starts in Formula One over 05 and 06.
His Formula One career. So this is why I know who he is. I was curious when he raced in Formula One. It was actually after his time in kart.
Yes.
And this is why it was of note. He podiumed in the infamous 2005 U.S. Grand Prix at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So he finished behind the Ferraris, one of 6 cars to participate, got a 3rd place
Only
in the
podium.
Jordan EJ15 powered by Toyota, obviously on Bridgestone tires.
Yes.
Only point. He scored 7 points, only points of his Formula One career.
Yeah, 37 starts, one podium. The one podium, they all count the same, right? It was the 2005 United States Grand Prix. He's doing pretty good for himself. Still around, 46 years old, married a Portuguese model, have a couple kids. He's perfectly fine. But had that one season, 2003, in kart with the prolific Fittipaldi Dingman team and raced that entire season. Top finish of 6th at Mexico City. So this week's random split era driver of the week, Mr. Tiago Montero.
All right, that wraps up this week. Next week, if there's anything notable from day 2 of the IndyCar test at Thermal Club, we'll fill you in with that information, plus any news stories and things that come out. And we'll get to that next week as we inch 1 week closer to the start of the 2023 IndyCar season. For Justin Kinney, I'm Caleb Hatch. Thanks for joining us on another episode of New Track Record Podcast.
Podcasts by Federated Media.